morning, campers. Today we're going to talk about shadow work, next spiritual practice that we're going to be breaking down in this series. Shadow work, something that is extremely powerful. Obviously, it resonates with me because I am shadow worker. This is what I do. This is the practice that I am your spiritual teacher for. So let's talk about shadow work. What is shadow work? I like to call it a bit of a spiritual therapy, because on your shadow work session, what you do is you basically discuss your wounds, your shadows, your triggers. You start from childhood trauma, mother wound, father wound, all the core wounds that we all carry, although we like to deny it, and how we operate in life, right? The objective of shadow work is to remove the illusion of polarity, that there is shadow and light, that there is good and evil, and to understand that everything is truly neutral. Our shadows are not to be carved out and thrown into the bin. I always highlight this to you guys. They are to be loved, understood, so they can relax, so they can be blended into and integrated into our psyche as a whole. There are no things within us that are good or bad. Everything is neutral. It's how we use these things, right? And these patterns and these shadows. Now, how shadow work looks like, it will depend. If you go on sessions of shadow work, it will depend on who your shadow worker is. I am a psychic medium. I'm a channel. I use my ancestral tool to work with you guys, that is tarot. So that is how I work, right? However, there may be shadow workers who resonate more with shamanic practices. There may be shadow workers who are channels, but they don't use any tools on their sessions. It's sort of exactly like that therapy, sort of a conversation, kind of a situation. So it really depends on the spiritual teacher that you resonate with and the spiritual teacher that you choose. I myself as well am a energy reader, and that is something that is a beautiful quality. A lot of healers, if not all true healers and true spiritual teachers, would be energy readers to a certain extent, because as you come to me on session, I read your energy. I feel your energy that you sit in at that moment of time, so the shadows that are coming through it that we need to work through. So that's basically what shadow work is. Now, who shadow work is for? Again, this particular spiritual practice, I will say, for everyone. Everyone should do shadow work. The question is, do you have the willingness to look inwards? Because shadow work is about removing the illusion that the quality of your life is a fault of destiny, of other people, of your parents or your family, of your boss, of your ex. In the shadow work, we remove that illusion. In shadow work, we understand that I am the master of my destiny, that the only way to shift my external world is to shift my interior, is to shift myself, is to rise my vibration, is to integrate my shadows, so I can make better choices for myself, so I can step away from people that right now I'm blaming for how my life looks like, right? This is shadow work. So it's the only requirement. Are you ready to put the finger on yourself? But similar with therapy, right? If you're someone that you've ever been on therapy, it's a drastically different approach, because therapy focuses on the mind. It's only the mind. Whereas in shadow work, we obviously work holistically. It's not just the mind and what's tangible and what's explainable. I'm not here to diagnose you and give you a pill. I am here so you can really break yourself down, to understand yourself and to heal every bit and every piece of yourself. That is what shadow work is. And people who are true shadow workers, who are meant to be shadow workers, we have the natural quality to reflect your shadows, right? So they come through and they come forth in the shadow work session. So Next question that we always ask is, how do we do that shadow work? It's something that is my belief, and I've shared this with you guys many times, and I share it oftentimes in these kind of conversation. That is something that you do with a spiritual teacher. No true shadow work, deep shadow work will be done without a shadow work spiritual teacher. Why? Because we're sitting in a place of our ego. Because it seems like it's so easy to put the finger on you, but as we start doing it, our ego resists. And I can tell you right now from my own experience being vulnerable with you guys, when I was doing my shadow work, one of my shadows was the hyperachiever, but it actually helped me to go through this journey relatively fast. There is no fast, slow, we all have our own pace. But I was very eager to do this. I was like, show me more of my shadows. I want to like heal them all, right? And in the same time, I myself still had moments that when my shadow worker would say, that is coming through in your energy, it's like, no, I don't have that. I don't do that. Our ego has the natural response to when we're faced with the truth. And it's a complex thing why it happens, but it links back to the program. Ego is very fearful by nature. Ego is very defensive by nature. And we live in a program when shadows are shamed, right? So certain qualities within human beings are shamed. They're not given love. They're not given acceptance. And the more we reject them, the more they grow in strength, right? So in the beginning, it's difficult to admit, yes. And this is why when you're starting your shadow work, having a shadow worker is extremely important, because this person is not only meant to reflect your shadows to you, read your shadows in your energy, but also explain what does it really mean, where it comes from, and more than anything, help you to embrace it, help you to understand it, help you to give love to that shadow, help you to stop shaming yourself for certain things. And through stopping shaming yourself and giving love to your shadows, we sort of allow them to relax into our psyche and retire and stop holding the reins, stop ruling who we are and what we do. That links back to that mindfulness that we've talked about yesterday. However, a very important thing that I want to mention, when you choose your shadow worker, and I've mentioned this in my meditation video, if I was to give you guys 2 spiritual practices that will really transform your life, that will really help you heal, shadow work and meditation. Shadow work and meditation. I cannot imagine without these 2 things, or shadow work and contemplation, if that's what you prefer, to go nowhere on your spiritual journey. Without facing your shadows, you're not going to heal, expand, transform, and step into the place of your spirit and in the place of your light. So as you choose your shadow worker, whoever resonates with you, you will start working with this person, again, depending on your journey, depending on your goals, depending on the quality of who you are in that moment. Some people will come every week, some people will come every month, some people will come every 3 months. We all have our own pace. All is good. So, to be honest, is in no rush. We can do this for a variety of lifetimes, right? The growth of our soul that we will achieve in a specific lifetime will be carried to the next lifetime. So it's all valid, and it's all good. If you, some people will have that really like, oh yeah, let's do this, and every week, every 2 weeks, and some people, it will be very hard for them. So they will need that space in between sessions for integration. But however often your sessions are, it's important to remember that you will have to do the work yourself. And I've mentioned to you guys in one of the previous videos, and again, I talk about this a lot, for you to realize that us healers, we don't magically touch you and heal you. The role of a healer is to hold the light for you, is to show you the way, is to hold space for you, help you find your own way, help you reconnect. It's always a chapter. It's going to end at one point if you put in your work to it. The job of your healer is to help you to reconnect to your inner guru, to the higher, so you can remember to find the ways and find the answers on your own. We true healers, we've done this. We went through this journey on ourselves. We emit high vibration. We emit the healing energy. And in those sessions, it's like, it's not that we're giving you this energy, but through emitting it, we're showing you the way, how to adjust your frequency to the one that we have. But you have to do the work in between the session yourself. You have to do the shadow work on a daily basis. It's the shadow work, it's the real raw work. It's the work, it's the inner work. It's the work that you have to do if you ever want to step into that place of your spirit. It's that honest reflection with yourself through mindfulness, through contemplation, through meditation, through journaling, through many ways that you do on a daily basis. But it's basically that. Sorry, it's the self-observation. It's constantly asking the why. Why does shadow exist within me? Where it comes from, what it means, how it influences my behavior and my decisions. It's questioning. It's becoming the investigator. It's taking the magnifying glass and looking at you. And that's the core of shadow work, finger on you. Whoever wants to do shadow work, if you will ever on a session with me start to say things like, because we will stop and dive deeper into why. Why are you shifting the blame? Life is not about what others did to you. Life is about how you are able to grow, to react differently to what happens to you. Shadow work puts that finger on you to ultimately reach a moment that no one is to blame. Life is just an experience, right? But it is that self-investigation. So the how, I would recommend working with a good shadow worker to give you direction. But in between the sessions or before you have the courage to start, because it's a raw work, right? You have to face your fears and face your shadows. It's a good thing to sometimes just do some exercises. And if you follow me, you know that I oftentimes give you some exercises. I post them on my Instagram, or I do some videos on my stories as we walk through certain energies. What are the help shadow work questions that you can ask yourself in contemplation. We talk about wounds, we understand wounds better. We talk about emotions as well. So there's my oracle cards that I've created are an amazing shadow work tool that you can use on an everyday basis to help you with your shadow work. But I would say, again, my belief, it's a combination of both. You have to have a shadow worker that will guide you, however often, anywhere from minimum once every 3 months if you have a slower pace, to every 2 weeks, depending what you want to achieve and where you are in life. And in between, you will have to do your daily exercises that a good shadow worker as well will give you exercises. If you have that session every month, every 2 months, a good shadow worker should give you a clear path and a clear a visual of what is it that you have to do in those months on an everyday basis, on a once a week basis, and for example, once. Whether you're going to do it or not, it's your choice. Ultimately, we all choose how we want to show up for yourself, how we want to show up for our spiritual practices, and how we want to show up on an everyday life for ourselves, for our growth. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or you feel guided to sign up for a session, link is in my bio. Let me know again with any questions or doubts, and I will see you tomorrow.